What up guys, Miguel here from Yugatech, and we are pretty much at the tail end of 2024 and there have been lots of smartphones released this year. In today's video, we're looking back at some of what we think are the best smartphones we can get for just under 10,000 pesos. Take note that the smartphones we'll be covering in this video were officially released in the Philippines throughout the whole of 2024. So without further ado, let's dive in. First on this list is the iTel S25, carrying the second most affordable price tag in this list at just 5,799 pesos. It packs impressive performance and a feature set that you wouldn't normally see in this price range, like an AMOLED display. Powering the iTel S25 is the Unisoc T620 paired with 8GB of RAM with an additional 8GB with RAM extension available and 128GB of internal storage. The aforementioned AMOLED display measures 6.78 inches and features a Full HD Plus resolution running with a smooth 120Hz refresh rate and a peak brightness of 1800 nits. Some say its overall design reminds them of a Samsung, but we kind of think that's more for the Ultra model. For this iTel S25 non-Ultra, we think it looks more like a Sony Xperia phone. From the rear protrudes a 50-megapixel main camera with an unspecified auxiliary sensor, probably a depth sensor, while in front under its display is a 32-megapixel selfie camera. Battery-wise, the phone packs the usual 5,000 mAh unit with 18 watts of fast charging. Overall, we think it's a solid performer for the everyday user who doesn't need all the bells and whistles. So yes, this is one of the only phones on this list that does not feature dual stereo speakers as well. Next up is the recently released Infinix HOT 50 Pro Plus. If you haven't seen our video on that one, you can check it out here. Whatever, we'll link them all there if they're available. This phone is one of the better pickups for less than 9,000 pesos released this year. It features a 6.78-inch Full HD Plus 3D curved AMOLED display. It caps at a refresh rate of 120Hz and gets a peak brightness of 1300 nits. For display protection, it features Corning Gorilla Glass 5, is majorly made of polycarbonate materials. Either way, its ultra-thin design definitely makes it look very slick or dated, depending on your preferences. It's powered by a MediaTek Helio G100, a 6nm octa-core chipset that scored over 440,000 points in our Antutu benchmarks. Available for 8,499 pesos with 8GB of RAM and 256GB of UFS 2.2 internal storage. And it even gets a dedicated microSD card slot for expandable storage. For optics, the Infinix HOT 50 Pro Plus features 3 camera sensors at the rear. It's headlined by a 50-megapixel main sensor followed by a 2-megapixel depth sensor, and the third is unspecified, which we can assume is some AI camera sensor or something. In front, it gets a 13-megapixel selfie camera. For battery, the HOT 50 Pro Plus packs a 5,000 mAh battery with 33 watts of fast charging and support for 10 watts of reverse wired charging, which is that feature that allows you to use the Infinix HOT 50 Pro Plus as a power bank for a different device. The Infinix HOT 50 Pro Plus is a solid pick for those who want a sleek-looking phone perfect for light gaming and multitasking under 9,000 pesos. Up next is a phone that launched in the first half of the year for 7,999 pesos, the Redmi Note 13. It comes in a familiar design if you're a Xiaomi or Poco fanboy and is powered by a Qualcomm Snapdragon 685 chipset configured with 6GB of LPDDR4X memory and 128GB of UFS 2.2 storage. It scored almost 340,000 points in our Antutu benchmark testing, which isn't that bad for a phone we can get for less than 8K. It sports a 6.67-inch Full HD Plus AMOLED display that gets a 120Hz refresh rate and a Corning Gorilla Glass 3 display protection. It also gets up to 1,800 nits of peak brightness, which makes using it under direct sunlight a breeze. At the back, it features a triple rear camera system led by a 108-megapixel main sensor and complemented by an 8-megapixel ultra-wide and a 2-megapixel macro sensor, which makes it the first phone on this list to not feature a depth sensor. In front is a 16 megapixel selfie camera. For battery, it sports the usual 5000 mAh cell with 33 watts of fast charging. Next is the TECNO Spark 30 Pro. This guy just launched a few weeks ago by the time this video is published, but we haven't published a review on it just yet. But it is available in a limited edition Optimus Prime colorway. Autobots, transform and roll out. And it even features an IP54 certification for dust and splash resistance like most of the phones in this list. It's powered by a MediaTek Helio G100, a 6nm octa-core chipset clocked at up to 2.2 GHz clock speeds. For configs, we get 8GB of RAM and 256GB of internal storage, with expansion via the microSD card slot. This phone also gets a 6.78-inch Full HD Plus AMOLED display with 120Hz refresh rate support and a peak brightness of 1700 nits. For cameras, it's headlined by a lone 108-megapixel main sensor at the rear and a 13-megapixel selfie camera in front. It's powered by a 5000 mAh battery and 33 watts of fast charging. The TECNO Spark 30 Pro is available for 7,999 pesos. Next up is another one released in the first half of the year, with a brand trying to make its comeback a reality. Presenting the Cherry Aqua S11 Pro. It's a MediaTek Helio G99 powered smartphone with 8GB of RAM and 256GB of UFS 2.2 internal storage. The Helio G99 is quite popular for its overall reliability and cost efficiency. For battery, it packs a 5000 mAh battery with 33 watts of fast charging. This phone is primarily made out of polycarbonate materials with a flat-sided aesthetic, but unfortunately, this is one out of two phones on this list that does not include an IP54 certification for protection against dust-sized particles and water splashes. So for cameras, it's headlined by a 64-megapixel main camera at the rear and a 16-megapixel selfie camera, well, obviously in front. It's also worth mentioning that this phone is the second phone in this list that does not feature dual stereo speakers. The Cherry Aqua S11 Pro was sold for 7,999 pesos at launch. Last but not the least is the TECNO Pova 6 Neo. There is no spoon. I know the Pova 6 Pro quite well. This guy is its younger sibling. It's basically the same device but with a more toned down camera system. This model opts for a 50-megapixel main camera instead of a 108-megapixel sensor. The selfie camera is also reduced to 8 megapixels from 32 megapixels. The biggest difference is the Pova 6 Neo's battery, rated at a whopping 7,000 mAh capacity paired with 33 watts of fast charging. It comes with two configurations, a 128 gig trim priced at 9,999 pesos and a 256 gig option coming in at 11,999 pesos. Both these versions get 8 gigabytes of physical memory or RAM. Closing off this list isn't anything too special. It's the smart ZTE Blade A75 5G. After a long time, Smart Telecommunications once again collaborates with ZTE, offering one of the most affordable 5G phones ever. The ZTE Blade A75 5G coming in at only 5,450 pesos. The only downside is users of this phone would be locked into a smart SIM only, so take note of that, especially if you get this device from Smart. It features a Unisoc T760 chipset built on a 6nm process. It has 4 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of internal storage. However, one crucial letdown is the lack of a microSD card slot, which is quite prevalent with a lot of the phones on this list. But, you know, it's probably a cost-cutting measure. And one other thing, this is also the second phone in the list that does not get an IP certification. So Yes, those are the trade-offs for very affordable 5G. For optics, it has the usual 50-megapixel camera with a 2-megapixel depth sensor accompanying it. The 6.6-inch HD Plus IPS LCD panel runs at a 120Hz refresh rate. Yes, IPS LCD, rare sight on this list, but again, probably a trade-off for 5G. And its battery is rated at 5,000 mAh with an 18-watt fast charging rate. Once again, the ZTE Blade A75 5G in collaboration with Smart retails for 5,450 pesos. So that wraps up this list for our best smartphone picks of 2024 priced under 10,000 pesos. Which of these phones do you guys think is the best buy in the price range? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video or found it informative, or if this list has helped you make a purchasing decision, be sure to smack that like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and hit that bell icon so you get notified of our future uploads. Be sure to visit yugatech.com for the latest tech news and reviews. Once again, this has been Miguel, and I'll see ya in the next one. Bye-bye.